All right then. Thank you for your patience while we waited for some more participants to join us. My name is Rakesh Wazirani. I have the privilege and the pleasure of being your host and your moderator for today's session, where we will hear from the experts you see on screen with regards to their experience with this chemical management program, which was focused on improving the environmental performance of factories, acronymed as PI, which is part of the Fabric project. You see on the right the photos of the gentlemen who will be sharing their feedback. Right at the top is Mr. Shohan. He's with Puma. He manages sustainability aspects for Puma. He's based in Bangladesh. He will share with us a brand as to why they signed up their participants for this program. Next up, we have Mr. When we hear from Rafe about what they felt about the program, why they signed up. But then it's also important to hear from a trainer, from a facilitator. And that's where we'll hear from Dr. Abbas, who's with Butex, the university in Bangladesh, but he also leads Reed Consulting. Yeah. And importantly, from Mr. Gundolf Klein, who's with GIZ Fabric. This is the team that brought together the funding, that brought together the experts, that brought together this entire ecosystem so that everybody gets to try it out. When to start off, a few seconds to congratulate the GIZ team, the Fabric team, and also the Asia Garment Hub team. We are now in double digits, today being the 10th webinar of this technical exchange series. It's part of Asian Dialogues. All of this is available along with the recording and the content on Asia Garment Hub. So congratulations to everybody behind this, to George, to Lisa, to Emily, for bringing together experts and participants for the series. Now, again, important is while you will hear about what the speakers have to say, it's also important for us and for them to know what you have to say, what questions you have, what insights you have, what suggestions you have. So please use the chat box function to share your questions. There will also be a little bit of interaction with polls. Please share your feedback. It will allow us to fine tune the next steps. Also for your reference, we have today participants from multiple countries. We have, of course, from Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. These are the three countries where the PI program was rolled out. But we also have interest from Cambodia, from India, and also, of course, from Germany, where perhaps a lot of brands and retailers are based. In terms of participation, we see the distribution between male and female. So it's good to see it's continuously rising, because we've all seen the role that female workforce and female managers play in our industry. But also useful to see is the profile of the participants. So on one hand, we of course have manufacturers, because they would want to see what's the value of this program and how they could benefit, hearing from fellow manufacturers. But also important to see for brands and retailers, for NGOs, for development partners, and other international groups. Let's start off then. Chemicals and chemicals management. While we all know that chemicals are everywhere, there has been a problem which was now detected officially. What you see on the left-hand side is this graphic from the Stockholm Resilience Center, where we have our planet and there's a safe operating space for the planet. And then there are these different boundaries for our planet for safe operation. One of them is with regards to novel entities. This is the one which is related to the materials that are introduced into our world. It was reported by scientists that this particular planetary boundary, the fifth planetary boundary for chemical pollution and waste, was breached. On one hand, coming science, yeah. We hear again earlier this year, where under the auspices of United Nations Environmental Program, there's a science policy panel which has come together. We know about the panel for climate change. We know about the panel for biodiversity. Now there's going to be a panel for chemicals management, for sound management of chemicals. So here you see scientists and experts coming together and still raising the alarm, but they are also empowered now by the science panel to act on a global level about sound management of chemicals. The ambition for them is to complete this work by 2024, similar to what we hear from climate change experts, IPCC, or the panel. It will be exciting to see what this panel tells us. Well, on one hand, scientists have been alarmed and informed and empowered. At the same time, we see that policymakers have got together and they have come up with several policies to make sure that the issues which we experience in the world, especially from textile industry, are also addressed in a scientific manner and in a manner which is gradual. Here you see on screen, thanks to Eurotex, the number of policy and regulatory drivers which are going to impact the textile industry. Some of it, which will go deep into the supply chain, which is where many of the manufacturers are, is the corporate sustainability due diligence requirements, but also the aspects of PFAS restriction or other chemical related regulations. Now, with scientists coming up with their message, policymakers reacting, brands and large corporates have also been on the button. What you see on screen, thanks to Planet Tracker, is a list of the top 30 textile companies of the world by revenue. And you see in the individual columns, which of them have a policy for sustainability, which of them have explicit targets, and which of them are also tying compensation of the executive to those targets, which means now more than ever, there is commitment and will to engage with the supply chain to bring everybody together, including on the topic of chemical management and its interlinked aspects. Now, with all of that, consultants got together, the think tanks got together, and they also talk about what should happen for chemicals. There's this clear objective of having better chemicals, better chemical management practices, making sure that there's no harmful substances in the wastewater. And to have all of that implemented, there's a need for trainings, for capacity building. Now, GIZ started off with such a training concept way back, already in 2005, and they revised this in 2014, calling it the resource efficient management of chemicals. This has also been adopted by UNEP and UNITAR for SMEs, yeah. And at the same time, there has been something coming from NRDC with regards to framework for factories to implement best practices. So with all of that, we see the focus on trainings, yeah. And George, if you could put up the first poll question for our participants then about trainings, about learnings. How do they position themselves? How do they feel they utilize the learning zone in order to go towards that continuous growth for themselves and their organization? So George, if you can please put up the first poll question for our participants concerning training. George, has the poll question been put up then?
Yes, Rakesh, the polls are up.
All right. And what do you see in terms of response? Maybe.
So right now the first responses are coming in.
All right. So
most of the responses prefer a blended approach so far.
All right. Can you put up the, maybe Gundolf, you can start sharing your screen, because on one hand, we hear about training, we hear about what GIZ had established. What has changed now? What's special now with REMC in its new avatar? And as Gundolf, you start sharing your screen, perhaps George, you can also put up the poll results on screen.
I think I can only share my screen as soon as the poll is closed.
All right. So George, can we close the poll, have the results so that Gundolf can reflect on it?
Could you share that, George? The result?
Yeah, it's still closing.
All right. Gundolf, it will be useful to get your reflection on what you see, yeah?
So everyone should be able to see the poll results now in the polling window.
Can you share it on the screen? Put it on the screen?
No, I can. Well, not really. I would have to put it on the
share
slide.
your desktop.
I would rather not, but okay.
All right. So Gundolf,
I don't see it at the moment.
Yeah, what I see is interest on blended and partly online, but also online self-paced. So the question was the preferred training mode: online self-paced, face-to-face, blended. The maximum response has been for blended, followed by online self-paced. Yeah. So Kunal, we did not inform the participants of what you are going to talk about, but maybe now you can reflect on what you.
Yeah, well, I will speak a bit more in detail about the different approaches, but the results show us already also or confirm what the experiences we made during the rollout of the e-REMC, the new training approach we have developed in the last 2 years, focusing on an online-based training approach to increase the efficiency, make it more easier for participants or learners to study. And the blended approach is the benefit, or provide the benefit that there's someone, if there are questions coming up, and focusing really on improvement on the factories. Just having a self-paced learning training, it's fine. Everybody can go through the training on their own speed. But the most benefit or would be for factories if there's someone in the back, kind of backup, if there are questions coming up regarding what to do, how to implement, but I will speak a bit more about the different approaches in a minute. So I think, yeah, it just confirms what the experiences we made as well within our own programs.
All right. Then we are ready for you, Gundolf.
Okay.
You, of course, will be sharing this from the perspective of leading the environment component of Fabric, but now also in your new role, which is about self-assessment and supporting factories in this initiative, which is the success of Accord. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, thank you very much, Rakesh. The e-REMC, what does it mean? Within a regional project called Fabric, we have further developed GIZ training materials, and e-REMC means now e-learning on resource efficient management of chemicals. So that's very short abbreviation, longer title, but I think the REMC as such is very much established, as you said already, Rakesh, and has given some examples also by other institution like UNIDO, who has taken up the approach of the training on how to improve sustainable chemical management. But what does it really mean? The e-REMC is a full training package, e-learning based, as already several times said. It's hosted on the GIZ e-learning platform Atingi. The objective is to bridge a gap between the action and action which needs to be taken. So therefore, we developed this based on the experiences we had. And with the training, we aim to make participants aware first, make them aware about the need of chemical management, provide guidance for systemic approach. What does it really mean? And that chemical management is not just a one-time job. You steadily and continuously have to follow up on this. Give a good overview on existing supporting materials on tools. That means we are referring as well to other methodology. It's what is already there. And also we supported local service providers, enhancing training advisory services in a way that for all the languages we have available for this training, also in several countries, we ensured that there's training service providers trained on this training approach and on how to use the materials on the learning platform Atingi. But yeah, the participants will learn a step-by-step approach on implementing chemical management as such, in compliance with international requirements like ISO norms, detox, but also ZHC, which is very much important for the textile sector. Also to understand how to develop a regulatory requirement within the factory on how to be compliant with the requirements from the customers, means the brands, how to integrate also chemical management in the existing management systems on the factory, but also of how to make use of chemical management and the achievements for sustainability reporting accordingly to, for example, international guidelines like the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI. And another benefit is as well that the content can be used and is being used already in academic training and training institutions. So they're not only on the factory level, it's also being used for trainers. Students got trained on the same methodology, of course, needs here and there a bit slight adjustment on really what is needed. And it supports a target group to implement or upgrade a resource-efficient management of chemicals in the factories. Because on the one hand, chemicals are needed for all the wet process and textile and garment industry. And on the other hand, the aim is really to use the chemicals in the most efficient way. So that's a bit the two aspects on that on the one hand. And the other thing is, also what will be provided by the training is the implementation of a chemical risk control, health protection, occupational health and safety. So shortly, it really provides a full comprehensive approach and the methodology of how to implement a sustainable chemical management. It's not a certification, it's just a training on how to do that. And our ambition is anyone who has gone through and takes up all the learnings and has understood the whole methodology can go for any certification, whichever is needed. Later, I will also provide some numbers and figures from the PI program already introduced by Rakesh at the beginning. So the target groups overall are mainly factories, middle management with technical background, technical engineers, shift leaders, technicians from textile finishing units, but also from synthetic tube factories, the PU leather, also tanneries could use the training approach, and also environmental health and safety experts, administrators involved in procurement. So there's a training is a modular-based training approach. You can use and pick up the needed modules, no need to go through the whole training. And it can be used overall in 4 different options, let's say. So the one thing is standalone self-learning as a self-paced learning training. Everybody can enroll by themselves easily and select the respective language which is needed. Then the second one, integration into a blended learning approach. Therefore, we provide with a whole package additional guidelines for trainer, really of how to do that, also from the didactical perspective. Additional training materials are available, but the trainings can be also, of course, in the materials, or the training overall can be used in face-to-face workshop as it was done in the past very much often, and the force often is to integrate it into academic learning program. The elements overall are 11 thematic self-learning modules with several further subdivided units. For example, a specific unit for the shoe production to consider the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, what needs to be done, considered, focusing on that. The first module is the introduction, and then the specific target groups will be addressed with module 2 to 11, supported by the trainer handbook. Quizzes, assignments for the participants. Here is the flexibility to use it for blended trainings or for self-paced learning. It's available and somehow ensures or give a proof for the learners if they understood and have understood everything. If everything will be correctly answered, or at least 50%, participants will get also kind of certificate from the training platform. Additional presentation slides for trainers are available, which can be used for the live sessions, the online live session, or face-to-face. So here is a lot material, and this has been used. The overall duration just for self-paced learning, it's calculated 19 hours. That's other presentation. Then it takes with additional quizzes. So total learning time is around 40 hours. So 1 working week almost in most countries if you go through from the beginning till the end. That is a bit the structure. Here you see the modules mentioned. I'm not going through now all and each and everything, just to provide you the overview. Assessing chemicals, it's what does it mean, managing chemical wastewater waste, also the impact on other parts of the production, so how to or what needs to be considered as chemical management as an integrated approach also on the factory level. And the last model, as you see, is the monitoring, reporting, chemical management performance, which is quite important as well, of course, for all the factories who has to provide data to the brands, to the customers, regards how good they are performing already. So in the last year mainly, we rolled it out, the training approach in 3 countries, the Program for Improvement of Environmental Performance of Factories, shortly PI, targeting on improvement on chemical management by using the e-REMC. So the target was 100 companies in the region have achieved a 10% improvement in scoring systems for sustainable chemical management of water, energy, chemicals. Here we picked and focused on the chemicals. So that's one of our indicator from the Fabric program, which we had to achieve. And below you see the total number of factories which have been participated in the program. 58 factories from Bangladesh, 187 factories from Vietnam. The number in bracket means from this 107, we got already the evaluation for the remaining factories. Let's see how they are reporting during the annual report. Seems their factories there were a bit lazy. They didn't want to do the self-assessment twice. And that means we have not all the results, but the ones we have are already very promising. And 50 factories from Pakistan have participated in the whole project. The results were that we achieved an average improvement, Bangladesh by 112, Pakistan 43, and Vietnam 120%, which is quite interesting if you look at the baseline Higgs score, the second column. The highest score here we had already in Pakistan, the lowest one in Vietnam. And if you look where it ended up, the final Higgs score, you see that all the 3 countries are very close together. And of course, as lower the start is, as lower you start and you want to achieve the same score, that means you have a higher improvement, 120%. So, and on the second last column is improvement means this is an improvement on the Higgs score. And in the last column, you see the total number. There was a bit different approach. Bangladesh and Pakistan, we had usually 2 to maybe 4 participants per factory. In Vietnam, we enrolled a bit more. That means for the online classes, more participants were joining. This I hear only average scores. Of course, if you have a factory which started with a Higgs score of 1 and ended up of 4, you have an improvement of 400%. Yeah, that means the percentage-wise is not only the only thing which provides or tells us a success, but I think, and that is very interesting to see that also factories which started maybe with 20 or 30, they ended up around 70 points in the Higgs score. And even factories which had already 60, 70, which is quite good, had still an improvement of 10 or 20 points in the Higgs score. So overall, we can say it was quite successful to roll this out in the 3 countries. Also cost-wise, it was very efficient. The average cost we calculated or we now monitored was less than 1,500 euro per factory. So considering the close to 300 factories who have been participating in that. Another example, or that is, let's say, the implementation framework in Vietnam, which was pretty much the same as well for the other countries. In Vietnam, training was rolled out by TÜV Rheinland in Bureau Veritas. So first there was a kickoff, then the practitioners have learned on-site visits, then the improvement has taken place together with thematic virtual workshops. These are the on-site workshops or the online workshops, not on-site. And we combined it in all the countries together with on-site visits. It was either for verification of the baseline or during the implementation phase to consult the factories on if there were any question or need to adjust maybe the implementation plan, things like that. And then at the end, there's again the Higgs self-assessment to monitor the improvement. So on that, the whole time, as you see here, Q3 until Q1. So the overall, it's around, let's say, 5 to 6 months. It is needed to really achieve an improvement. It's not kind of a one-time training, providing the content within 1 week, and then that's it. It was kind of a hand-holding approach. And with that approach, we have been very successful, I can say, from GIZ side also in the past. The main difference here was that the training as such took place online, which was the main reason for the higher efficiency and not bringing always for each session participants together. Another integrated approach also done by TÜV was bringing that together with the ZHC technical industry guideline and integrated in one training to see really and target specifically on the requirements from the guidelines and provide the knowledge which is needed to follow up on this. Yeah, available is the training on the Atingi platform. You see here the URL, www.atingi.org. It's for the self-paced learning, it's free of cost. Everybody can enroll and change one of the languages, which is English, Vietnamese, Mandarin, Bengali, Urdu, Turkey, Arabic, and of course English. So, and for an integrate or an blended learning training, you are free to hire any service provider. It's and of course this one, the service needs to get paid, and that is then up to participants to take over the course. GIZ at the moment is not rolling out any training on that, but as we have been cooperating with several brands during the PI program, some of the participating brands has taken it up now by themselves and will provide further trainings as blended learning trainings for their suppliers. But yeah, beside that, everybody's free to use it. Also, service provider can use it. ZHC is taking it up as well to make the materials, the approach available for their own trainers as well. So far for the moment.
Gundolf, thank you for sharing this summary, and also thank you for the German taxpayers for funding the training content and the platform. Are you also comfortable sharing how many brands GIZ approached to see if they would endorse this training? Approximately how many brands?
I think overall we work together with around 15 brands, 10 to 15 brands in the 3 countries. So yeah.
Okay. And while you shared that your target was 10% improvement, and we could see on an average it's more than 20% improvement in all cases, what surprised you, both positively and negatively? Was there anything that surprised you during the process, positively and negatively?
Well, positive was that we overachieved the target by 10 times. So if we have an average now with all the countries, well, you have to balance a bit, but between 40 to 100% improvement. I think that was very surprising. Also, overall, the feedback we received so far, and it was impressive really to see it works in that way. And you can deliver content in a blended learning. So that means just in a virtual one, as I said already in the past, we have rolled out such kind of training and face-to-face workshop, bringing all the participants together in one room, maybe for 3 or 4 times during such kind of hand-holding, let's say, approach. And here it worked out to provide the trainings over a time of 2 to 3 months, and then as well being there available mostly online to support the factories. Nevertheless, I think it was very much important as well to be on site there. And what has been surprised, well, it was not, no, actually negative. We were just open to see really how it works. And if we see the total number of learners on our platform, which is now about, I think, 3,500 already, that shows, seems we met the need of the industry.
All right. And one final question before we involve Shohan. On an average, how many emails or meetings did you have with each of those 15 brands before they said, yes, we will endorse this training?
I think that was not so many. And so we approached them maybe 2-3 meetings with, and then I have to ask the colleagues really how many emails they have written, but it's more like to approach the brands, presenting them. The ones which are interested, they jumped up on the train really quick, and other ones which are more hesitating has not participated yet. What I must say is, although we are funded by German money, the German brands were not the most willing and brands on that. It was quite interesting. Maybe some participants in the room know as well the German partnership on sustainable textiles. We promoted the training and the possibility to nominate some of the supplies for free, and the feedback was very low. So it worked much better approaching directly the brands, and that is what we're doing and continuing as well on other topics.
Okay, so there's going to be a phase 2, batch 2, yeah?
And not on chemical, but now we're trying. So we have just making some small promotion as well. Develop similar training on water, and another one on energy will come up as well. So.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Gundolf. Thank you then for sharing your ideas and thoughts of GIZ and e-REMC and what you have achieved. Congratulations to you and the entire Fabric team. Now, having looked at this, Gundolf mentioned about the 15 brands or so and how the Fabric team was convincing them. Let's hear from one such brand, Puma. Perhaps some of you are already using their products when you are going out for sport. Maybe George, you used them this morning when you went out. Let's hear from Mr. Shohan, who's based in Bangladesh. Many years working together with manufacturers. So, Mr. Shohan, what made you as Puma attracted to this program, and how did you go about it? How did it link with your overall objectives, and what was your experience, and what would you tell the other brands who are listening on? If you can please share your screen and share your experience in about 7 and 8 minutes.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute. So is my screen visible?
Yes. And I wanted to mention, for those of you who are meeting Shohan for the first time, he's based in Bangladesh. You don't win any prizes for guessing his favorite sport. That's cricket. But he also enjoys chess. So Shohan, over to you.
Thank you, Rakesh and GIZ for this webinar and for inviting me. So before going into the objective, I'd like to share some of the profile that what Puma is and how it is being linked with the chemical management, the program that GIZ has done successfully. So yeah, Puma is one of the world's leading sports brand that we are designing, developing, selling, and marketing footwear, apparel, and accessories globally. And these figures are, you can say, from 2021, that 6.8 billion sales was done in 2021, and 2022 around 8.4. Our annual report will be published soon, and those figures will be seeing publicly available. So in terms of the sale, you can say that we are doing good locally, and we are getting good response from the consumers. As per the business perspective, also we are across our business, we are taking actions for our peoples and the planet, and we will be never stop holding ourselves accountable and finding ways to do more. And for that, we have some strategy and target that you can say that we are expecting to meet by 25, and overall we are saying that 10 for 25, that goal that we have set. Those goals, our forever better sustainability strategy is based on our 10 for 25 target, which were introduced in 2019, following the extensive materiality analysis and obviously with the stakeholder dialogues. As a result, we have 10 target, including the chemical management and water, that is directly linked with this training, that PI and e-REMC. And for those target with reference with the UN SDG goals, we have defined a minimum 3 concrete target as well as key performance indicator to follow the progress we have made. So those are the details. We can say 3 targets for each of the area that we have said for 10 area. If you look into the bottom of that part, that is chemicals and water and air. For chemicals, we have 3 targets. The first one is ensure 100% of Puma products are safe to use. Maintain RSL compliance are above 90% and reduce organic solvent uses to under 10 gram per pair. And for water, ensure 90% of our suppliers follow industry wastewater and air quality standard. Reduce water consumption at core supplier by 15%. So yes, during 2022, we continued to engage with our core Tier 1 and Tier 2 factories in capacity building activities and projects in chemical management, which are follows on how to improve HIG-FEM chemical management score for the factory which with low performing. We work together with industry expert group like ZDC, FAM, as well as ZDC approved laboratories, organize training, webinars, develop training videos in local language. Puma also joined the chemical management training program for CMI, PI in countries like Vietnam and Bangladesh to improve the factory's chemical management performance. The improvement in the MRSL conformance rate also contributed to an increase the chemical management score. And as I said, as the performance shared by Gunlov of overall fabric, our performance report also will be published soon for the 2020 sustainability report. And hopefully by the next 1 or 2 weeks, it will be available publicly. And as well as the factory that are participated and that are working with us, we have also disclosed everything in the in our website. You can anyone can go and look at the factories that are there. So this is the overall things for as a Puma. And coming back to the questions that Rakesh just asked, that why we are getting benefited from this project and we are participating, right, Rakesh?
Yes, correct. Yeah. What motivated you and what was your experience?
Experience, right. So as I said that we have some target as per our 10 for 25 strategy, and we report our progress towards this goal in our sustainability report. We use the HIG-FEM score and FEM chemical module score in our sustainability supplier scorecard, along with their social rating. So this helps our sourcing team, because we have to also communicate everything to internally with our sourcing team to understand our facility performance for business allocations and selection of factories to be enrolled in capacity building programs. So we asked all of our core Tier 1 and Tier 2 This represents at least 80% of our sourcing volume to use FEM and get it verified. So we have set annual goals until 2025 for our supplier to increase their FEM score and FEM chemical module score. So we monitor progress of our suppliers. Also ask them to join capacity building program, and for that, those are the program that we also ask for the factory to participate, like PI and e-REMC program. So this program, as you said earlier, and Gulnab also said earlier, combine self-study and class training with the trainer to develop knowledge of the factory chemicals. So after completing the training courses, the factory management also has to develop an action plan to improve the chemical management. So Puma sustainability team supports by reviewing and advising the action plans. So in 2022, the factories in Vietnam and joined this program with on-site consultancy. Their chemical score improved 10% by 10%, as Agundov also shared. Because through this program, participants have gained knowledge and understanding on responding chemical management and various things like MRSL, RSL, safety, resource efficiency also. Because as I know, PI is not only focusing on chemicals, also focusing on overall HEC-FEM. So the participant factories expressed satisfactory with the problem, and also they have as a time for the implementation. So overall, I can say it add value to the suppliers factories, and we got benefited. Yeah.
All right. And then Shohan, you clearly mentioned your goals and targets and how you have the supplier dashboard and scorecard considering Higgs score and social score. There are so many training programs out there. There's training from ZDHC, from SAC, from Amphori, from IFC Pact. What made you choose GIZ, e-REMC, and PI approach?
And good question. Like as I said, we are extending our invitation to our suppliers to participate in various training programs like HEC, DC, wastewater compliance, supplier to zero, and also Tubulin, and also part of many of our programs for our supply chain. And the aim is to ensure that our suppliers are up to date with the current requirement and possesses that necessary knowledge and skills to implement them. So every day, the guidance, the requirement is getting updated. So we found that not one program, many programs is helpful to make the factories to gain the knowledges, to get the support from the industry expert. So as we found that GIZ PI program also complement the other training program under ZDC and HEC-FEM framework. We observed that on-site handholding followed by e-learning is an added advantage, which helped to improve chemical management of our participating factories, because it was really helpful with the expert support. In addition, the extended learning period is beneficial for our participant, as they are provided with enough time to reflect and apply the knowledge in the real life situation. So yeah, because you can say those are the things that that attract us for participating in the program. Yeah.
Okay. Then thank you, Shohan, for sharing your experience as a brand and what you described in terms of how you worked with your suppliers and factories. We heard a lot about what suppliers have to do, what factories should be doing. There's now, let's hear a perspective from a factory, from Nishat Chunian Group and Mr. Rafe, based in Pakistan. Your organization has been proactively looking at the different sustainability hotspots. It will be useful, Rafe, that while we understand you, of course, enjoy the long driving trips in Pakistan and looking at the scenery there, maybe you also tell us about your long journey with PI and what you experienced and why and how your organization implemented it. Yeah. So, Rafe, if you can please share your screen and take us through your journey in about 7 to 8 minutes. Yeah. For other participants, please pass on your questions via the chat box for Gundolf and also for Shohan. Yeah. Thanks. Over to you, Rafe.
Yeah, thank you. Just 1 minute. Is my screen visible to you?
Yes, if you can move to presentation mode, please, and then.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
All right. So thank you, Rakesh, for giving the stage to me. And as already you mentioned about my company, Nishat Chunia Group, we are based in Pakistan. My name is Rafe. I'm the head of sustainability at Nishat Chunia Group. So a little bit about my company, first of all. Nishat Chunia Group is a large-scale textile organization in Pakistan. We have multiple businesses of spinning, weaving, dyeing, finishing, and stitching. The location in which I am situated is the dyeing, printing, and home textile division, in which we mainly deal with the dyed fabrics and processed fabrics and final made up of bedding like bed sheets and all that. So coming on to the part that you mentioned that about REMC and how it benefited us as a company, as a supplier. First of all, I would like to say that we have been working with GIZ for around, I think, 8 years almost. 8 years back, I started off my career, and I remember like after 4 or 5 months of my career, I got the first training of sustainable chemicals management, and that was given by GIZ. And things were relatively new at that time. So going along with the journey of 7-8 years, a lot of things have changed. A lot of new chemical requirements have come out, and we have done multiple projects like, for example, ZDHC, Higg Index, and all that. So, but what differentiated REMC from the other programs was that, like, you can say that we get a requirement from our customer that this needs to be done. We go and attend, like, for example, a ZDHC training. It's a classroom training. We attend it for 3 days, and that's it. But the thing about REMC, what I liked about the concept and the entire methodology of the training was that, first of all, they invited us a lot of factories which were in the current batch, that these are the new onboarding factories, and they also showcased us the things that this is the previous batch of the factories which had these things implemented, and these are the improvements that came out. So it gave us a sense of motivation that, all right, we can also achieve this, and all right, some of these things that they have improved, these are also challenges for us also. So after that, the onboarding session was done. Then after that, a lot of you can say online sessions were conducted. And the best part which I like about that is that, like, from a customer, you get a set of requirements, then they conduct an audit, and that's it. So we can't openly discuss our challenges with them. But in this case, first of all, there was an onboarding session, then there was a training, and then a team of experts visited our factory, and then we openly discussed our challenges in you can say an in an advisory manner. So our challenges were openly discussed in a much more transparent manner, without having that sense that maybe if we talk too much, or we there's a barrier when it comes to audits and when you're dealing with customers. But when some company like GIZ and a team of experts is sent out, so in a factory, it's easier for us to get the things done, and it's easier for the people to relatively openly talk about the challenges and the issues that they face. Going on, like I said about the content, the content of the entire REMC was very informative and very detailed. The fact that it covered all the points, like, for example, if we talk about the chemicals, we talk about the factory floor, we talk about the training issues, all things were covered. And we as factory managers had a relatively different perspective to look at things, because we did not only involve the compliance department, like I'm heading compliance and sustainability. So we also involved our main chemical store, our procurement persons, the person which does the technical checking of the chemicals before it is coming into the factory. So everyone was involved, and everyone discussed about their challenges with the team of experts that were sent. And the training materials, the training advisory was very elaborative, and it really helped us out in the day-to-day sustainability requirements that we face in a factory. And like I said about the program details, like, for example, there was an initial overview of the new onboarding factories. Then we were invited, and we also gave them a list of key expectations, what we were expecting. Several examples were shared, a baseline assessment. Then the team of experts, the main purpose of the team of experts to come to our factory was they did a baseline assessment. They saw the actual situation of the factory and the challenges that we are facing. It was a baseline assessment followed by multiple online trainings. Then there were follow-up visits also. That first they gave us a list of recommendations, then a follow-up visit. And like I said, it wasn't a defensive approach that we have usually during audits. So the consultation, the guidance mechanism was very, you can say, different from the usual trainings that we attend. All right. And after that, obviously, the Tingy platform was also always available for us, that anything that needs to be studied or on a personal level, if anyone needs any guidance, then the Tingy platform was also always available for us. Coming on to the next slide now, the benefits that we got out of these. Like we were already working, like I said, on multiple other platforms, the DHC, HIG index and all that. But the things that were highlighted by the team of experts was that when they came into a factory, they saw that we were issuing the entire lot of chemicals that were coming into the sub stores, like for example, the bleaching department, the dyeing department. But they saw that why are you issuing so much quantity to someone and they have a lot to use? So they won't care about the consumption of the chemical. They would care about it when the quantities are low, and then they would be concerned that before the production should remain running. So what they suggested was that why don't you cut down that time? Only give chemicals of 2 days to the workers, to the sub stores. And what happened with that was that we saw about 1 or 2 months, we saw that the consumption reduced because the amount of monitoring, the amount of accountability had increased for the sub stores, which is why it maybe because we work on a daily basis in the factory, when someone from outside comes in, so they see things in a different perspective. And it was really eye-opening for us also that it really came up with a reduction in our chemicals. The monthly consumption really reduced about, not much, but about 2 to 3%. And the fact that when you talk to a company's management, we need to talk on business terms. So if I say that there will be compliance betterment and all that, it's not much of a, you can say, selling point. But if you talk about it in financial numbers, that if you're using like around 1 million rupees of chemical and 2 to 3% of that would be reduced. So the factory management really then listens to you. That all right, 2 to 3%. That's because considering the dollar exchange rate right now in Pakistan and all. Because of the depreciating value of the Pakistan rupee. So 2 to 3%, and we also have to import a lot of chemicals. Not many of them are locally available. So 2 to 3% a drop in the chemicals consumption really made it easier for us to convince the factory to have this program conducted, let the people be trained on this. So that was really a benefit of the program. And like I said, the GIZ has always been working with us, and it really improved our compliances because we work with USA, UK, and EU regions. So by the toolkit, compliance on that was also supported because we would need to work on HIG index, and chemical management is a major portion of that. And if you see the slide right now, the improvement that we had before, we were at 67, then at 73, then at 81, and the chemical management score has relatively increased a lot in the past 2-3 years. So yes, I would really appreciate the fact that GIZ is providing such a platform. I would really like to mention a person of GIZ. His name is Mudassir Adil. He was with us, for example, like the entire process of the chemical management portion for the past 2-3 years, and the REMC and all the multiple things that we have been doing. So that's our experience of as a factory. So that's it from my side. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Rafe. Thank you for adding the two important words of resource efficiency before chemical management and sharing your story of cost savings. Yeah, Muda, shy. Please show us your face by enabling your video. Yeah. All right, Rafe, thank you for sharing your story. For participants, if you have questions, if you would want to know a little bit more about Rafe's team's work, then please put in your question in the chat. Dr. Abbas, you have been patiently listening to GIZ about the concept and framework, to Puma about what they are doing, why they are doing, and the experience of factories where they shared what was interesting this time of on the ground hand holding, building that trust, having that openness with the training firm. Your team was one of these training firms, yeah? What is useful to hear from you, of course, and before you start, George, maybe you can pull up the poll question for our participants about the type of training and the interventions during the training. So if you can have the poll question up for participants, and Dr. Abbas, if you can reflect on what you heard so far and share your journey of the past year or so on this PI project, working with so many factories in Bangladesh. I saw the news in Bangladesh newspaper Daily Star about the results. So if you can take us in about 7 to 8 minutes on what you experienced, what you saw was different this time, that would be very useful. And George, once we are ready, please also share the poll results. So we see now the question was with regards to online quiz and assignments and what the participants feel. You will see at the bottom of the WebEx screen on the right hand side, there are these 3 dots. If you click on them, there is an option for polling, which is where you'll be able to see this question. What do you feel about online quizzes and assignments during this training program? Do you feel it's necessary? Do you feel it's a waste of time? Yeah. Do you feel it's useful, but it is too time consuming? Or if you don't have an opinion so far? So from the responses that we've got, Dr. Abbas, we see that all the responses indicate that it's necessary, and about 50% say that it can be, about 30% say it's time consuming, but a vast majority say it's necessary. It's useful for them to see what they have understood, and maybe also for the trainer. Yeah. So with that, thank you for the results coming in. Dr. Abbas, it's over to you. Please share with us your experience. For those of you who don't know Dr. Abbas yet, he is with Butex University. He's the professor there, but he's also leading the activities for Reed Consulting. And for many in Bangladesh, he's considered the guru on chemical management. So, Dr. Abbas, over to you.
Thank you, Rakesh. Very good to hear from you guys, and also thank you for inviting me as well. And to be honest, I was listening to the background of PI and also from the brand and their perspective for joining e-REMC, and also the factory and the improvement that they have got in the Higg index score, 81 points. So congratulations. And to be honest, I had the similar journey from 2022 because partner of PI activity in Bangladesh. We have done 58 factories, and we have got similar kind of feedback from the improvement side and the changes side. I think one of the points that I would like to highlight, and then I will come back to your point. One highlight is basically this e-REMC, the PI project. I would say because it's not it's a learning experience for the factories or learning journey from the factories, because most of the cases happens was auditor comes, they give certain points without, and the factories are kind of try to provide what are the documents they are basically asking for without actually understanding most cases the value of those documents, policies, procedures, and everything. So the document is there, you get the score. But whether that is customizing to your requirement, whether the customizing to the scenario or customizing to the policy and procedure for a certain, Higg index or other JDAC documents, that's kind of, in a sense, lacking for the factory people. So our journey to that 12 months with 58 factories in 4 batches is basically what happened was the chemical responsible persons in the factories and the environmental responsible persons of the factory were enlightened, were engaged, and learn the intricacies of, putting the words and the policies in the documents, or how to practice on that. And based on that, I would like to, share my, presentation on how that helped on the learning of it. All right, so I would share the experience with the Natingi from the trainer's perspective. Because my time is limited, I would just try to go through this straight away. So GIZ commissioned with consultancy for this implementing the 5 objectives in Bangladesh, and I was the team leader. I worked with 8 different consultants within the team to implement the methodology of environmental and chemical improvement. We have 58 Bangladeshi factories, which includes knit dyeing, oven dyeing, denim, garment washing, printing, and footwear. Methodology, I would not touch into that because I think it has been already done. For the capacity development, what we target is 3 participants from each factories, so that trained on chemical management system, and we target at least 1 participant from each factory supposed to complete that from those factories. And Atingi is the online platform, as Gund also said in the beginning. And as we said, it's a blended learning approach. So we have done 2 different things. One is online content, so self-paced learning, on-demand videos, and also we have instructor-led classroom training. So self-paced learning, there were 11 modules in the chemical management training program. Participants completed each online module at suitable time and submitted the associated quizzes and assignments independently. And any concern that is related to the technical part of the modules or assignments or clarified during the live online weekly sessions. So which basically means every week we have a tutor guided 2-hour session with the participants of the factory. These 58 factories are divided into 4 batches. So usually we have we work with 15, for 13 to 16, 17 factories in each batch. So we have around, let's say, from each batch in each week around 20 to 30 participants coming into this tutor guided session. And in the tutor guided sessions, in these 2 hours, we have divided them into 3 different parts. First is the technical issues, that what is not clear in the modules, what needs better explanation, more explanation, and if there is anything that they have questions. And on that part, we discuss also the summary and the key takeaways from each modules. That's the first one. Second is that the trainees also participate in interactive live discussion on that module, and also how that can be implemented in their factory. Or is there any real life practice that is taking place within the group itself? So one is they learn it themselves. Second is, if there is any good practice or anything they would like to share within this group, and then it's knowledge sharing. And also because our consultant team moved around all 50 factories at least 3 times. So based on assessment, training, and also the validation visit. So if there is any best practice that you would share. And finally, the most challenging part of the assignment. So assignment discussion and assignments were facilitated. So we have 11 modules, 23 quizzes, 11 assignments. So each module has 1 assignment, and the total is 58 hours. Total is 58 hours. So that is how it is given. And for all the modules, this online tutor guidance, the tutor basically evaluated each assignment. I think the most challenging part of us as a trainer is, of course, for the trainee as well, but for the trainer as well. So to think about that, if there is 58 factories and 1 or 2% completed assignment on each module. So just think about that the number of assignment has to be evaluated by the trainee, but at the same time, each trainee is supposed to finish these 11 assignments to complete or to get the certificate. So that's also a very challenging part of that. This is remember that these trainees all are working in the factory. They are 1 year experience to 10, 15 years experience, and finding the time to self-paced learning along with the writing the assignments based on the factories is also very difficult challenge. So initially, for the batch 1, we have 35 participants who has registered for it, and then 18 has been completed. But over time, you see that the batch 2, 39, and then 24 completed, batch 3, 37, and 23 has completed. And finally, in batch 4, 53 has been signed for this online training, and 39 has been completed. So you see the gradual increment of the participants, as well as, also the completion of the, online. I would say that initially there were lots of reluctance from the participants, because they would not value, how these online training could help. But I guess once we started and we see what are the challenges they are facing, and as a trainer, as a tutor, we address those challenges in various different ways, by phone call, by giving them much more encouragement, opportunities, motivation, and their career path. And eventually, you see that gradually there are more people, more chemical responsible for person completed. And most of the feedback that we have got from them is, we didn't realize that this would be so entertaining or so interesting for us. So that I think we have enjoyed it much, and they really liked that. Initially, they have resistance to writing the assembly, because writing is difficult, for the factory people. So initially they resisted in writing the assignment, but over time, and then pushing and encouragement, because they have, in a sense, they have to write lots of policies and procedure, and also lots of reporting for different platforms. And having those practice and how to use those words, how to use different language, different tone, that also could be helpful for them. And then when they realize it, they really basically gone for it. So the challenges of this, overall methodology, I said, for us, the most challenging part is, understanding the body language of the learners, because sometimes their video is off due to network issues, due to various other issues, because they are in the factory when we are meeting them. There are lots of people coming and going. Interaction, lack of personalization, distraction, phone calls, somebody's coming. All those things are always there, and I think it will be there. I do not think that we could reduce it eventually. But with all these things, our challenge is sometimes, body language could tell lots of things, or maybe it could not, address that particular person, although we make a big audience. But that personalization always probably could be improvement. As I said, evaluate assignment makes times 11 assignments for each of the participants. So if it is 100 100% completed in total, so we have to evaluate 100 into 1100 assignments. So you think that this is very difficult for the trainers as well. Lots of time pushing and coordinating that. That's it. There are technical challenges. It's much more related to the IT, internet network, facilities of how would I say, the computers, laptops, mobiles, slow internet, and then load time active during submission, and all those things are there, and it's gradually improved. Voiceover, because the modules have voiceovers, and sometimes there's not synchronizing, excessive load time. But that's sometimes 2 hours that online tutors, guided tutor session, much of the time sometimes we spend on fixing up who is there and who is not there due to technical problem. And Atingi is also I think it's now getting settled, but initially it was also took the time to cope with, but over time it has been based on the feedbacks, and then it has been gradually improved as well. So there are some photos of the 5 projects of the team, and also the consultant team that we worked on. It's the 7-person consult team that cover up around 180 visit, and then I do not know how many live session, to be honest. I should have counted that. But each week, so if it's 52 weeks, I'm sure there are more than 40 online tutor guided session as well. And if you ask me the evaluation of assignment, how many hours, probably we need to look into that as well. So with that, we acknowledge GIZ Fabric Asia, Marks and Spencer, H&M, Puma, PF Asia, who has supported the given the factories to us and this project. And without their support, we could not complete. But most importantly, I would like to thank the factories, chemical responsible personnel who really made it happen. The improvement that Gundolf showed in different factories, different countries is basically the hard work of the chemical and environmental responsible person of the factories and their management, who basically given them freedom and let's say encouragement to make the progress. So hats off to them. With that, thank you very much, the audience, and over to you, Rakesh. Rakesh, over to you.
Thank you, and also congratulations to your entire team who worked on it. You mentioned about the effort and time it takes to go through the assignments, but when you see from the response of the poll, well, people still want it, yeah? So all the best.
Exactly, of course. We love that because then we see that how the chemical responsible persons see the problem is differently, and one same assignment, but the person is solving it very differently, responding it differently, and guiding them is very, very nice opportunities to have.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Abbas. Now I want to invite all of you, Gundolf, Rafe, Shohan, and Dr. Abbas. Please join me in this Q&A session, yeah? You should be able to see my screen. And now, while our participants reflect on what you have shared and ask the question, let's start off with this. Let's talk about the PI framework, this capacity building framework and training that you have. So to all of you here, these are your avatars. I apologize if you don't like them. It's Gundolf, Abbas, Rafe. Now, do you see this PI program as a compass for a factory who wants to implement good chemical management, or is it a map for a factory? How do you see it? We start with you, Gundolf. Where should we put you? Do you say PI program is a compass or a map?
I think I would say it's both. Yeah, on the one hand, so it provides you the orientation how to orientate you on the map, because the map, it means there are the frameworks there, the requirements from different standards, ZHC, Ökotech, others. There are the requirements from the brands, and PI give you then the orientation of how to navigate within this framework.
Right. Dr. Abbas, what would you say?
I would like to say both, but then because Gundolf already said it, so I would rather say, because I think it would be compass in the sense that because PI project has given an indication that there are three things. There is first is resource efficiency of chemicals can be improved. Second is because in one factory we found that the Higgs score is already 80, but when we evaluated that, we have given them 60, and then they realized, I mean, initially they let's say protested, but when we told them, one by one, why we see what we did, then they realized that, okay, this is the reasons, and then they have improved. So I would rather, that's why I would say it's a compass for them, that there is still a lots of opportunities available to improve.
Seems we have lost Rakesh.
Okay.
Yeah, but maybe Rafa, you can be the next one. Let us know from your perspective.
All right.
Also, yeah. So continue?
Please.
Yes. All right. And then the next question here, with regards to the training content, because that's the crux of the whole point, yeah? The training content. What did you see, Dr. Abbas, in terms of the training content? Did you see that GIZ Fabric program allowed for equal partnership, allowed for inputs from experts such as yours, from factories? Was it inclusive? Did it rely on collective wisdom, or was it coming from somewhere on top? Somebody saying this is how it's supposed to be done? How would you rate it?
I think I would
Put you
say
in
equal
no or yes?
partnership. I would say equal
All right.
partnership, and it's a collective wisdom. All the assignment responses and the examples are still in their database. So I would say it's an inclusive program. It's a response. It's equal partnership with the factories, brands, trainers, and also the development organization like GIZ, and it's a collective wisdom database, I would say. Thank you.
All right. And how about you, Rafe? How did you feel?
I would say all three things, like equal partnership, inclusivity, collective wisdom, because of the fact that it's a two-way learning approach. It's not like a classroom session only, like you just listen to the things and all that, but it's something that they provide their information, we provide our knowledge, and they include it. Then the wisdom that is taken by some of the people, the experts that GIZ hires, or the team of experts that are outsourced, and along with the factory experience also. So I would say all three things.
All right. And how about you, Shohan? How did you see when GIZ engaged with you?
For sure, for the equal partnership and inclusivity. Otherwise, it will be really difficult. If it is in a one-way program, like if we're telling something that you have to do it, if there is nothing that you can get from the participant, then it will not be a full valuable program. Yes, it is a good program, and I would say for yes.
Okay.
No.
Gundolf, I don't think you have to answer this one, yeah? Because I think you planned it this way. All right. Sorry. Yeah, you want to say something, Gundolf?
No. Just agree with you and
Okay.
the other ones.
All right. And George, if you can pull up the final poll, because today we heard about all the nice things. The program is great, the people are great, the factories are great, the brand is great, GIZ is great. What is missing? What else do we need to go from those 100 factories, to go from 10-fold improvement to, I don't know, 100-fold improvement? What do we need to scale it up? What do we need to go from 15 brands to maybe 100 brands? George, if you can pull up the poll question for our participants to share their feedback, yeah? And Gundolf, you mentioned briefly, and it's also a time for you to promote a little bit more. We heard about chemicals management and sound management of chemical. How about the other interrelated aspects? You briefly touched on it. You touched upon the new program for water. You touched upon the new program for energy. You already have a program for climate and emissions called the Climate Action Training. How do you see all of this working together and integrating all these interrelated aspects?
Actually, if for all of the topics, everybody should go for an integrated approach. And that is what we have seen. Also from GIZ side, we are having developed trainings for the individual focus areas like climate, chemicals, water, energy is coming up as well. Nevertheless, as a producer, you cannot consider one of the subject as a standalone topic. So if you want to improve the water management, wastewater management, you have to consider as well your chemical management. If you want to improve your energy efficiency, you need to consider and also assess your wet processes, and then you come again to chemical management. So there's always a relation in. Just simply said, some chemicals need a lower dyeing temperature and less water. So here are the direct interlinkages to energy and water, and that's the other way around. And also, if you want to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions, you have to, on the one hand, you can go for substitution by renewable energy. We know that is not that easy and requires a high investment. And going for 100% renewable energy, it's very ambitious. That means the easy way first is really going for the potentials where you can save energy. You can go for better machineries, but you can also improve your chemical management. So there you have always the interlinkages, and that means my message and would be to factories, consider your subtopics and improvement as an integrated approach. Always think what are, on the one hand, first the direct implication, but also the indirect. And that is often what I've seen. Water, many of the production country has not a real price as such. Yeah, but there are indirect costs linked to that. You have to either pump it up from the ground very deeply because groundwater level is depleting and very low already, or you have to treat it at the end of the production. So, and then consider what does it mean, where you have the savings regarding energy, regarding chemicals, and
okay, got it. Our question to the audience was, what should happen in addition to this training that we heard of? We got feedback on interlinking e-REMC with the other aspects like water, energy, emissions, what you mentioned, Gundolf. There's some feedback for access to green finance. If a factory signs up for this improvement program or has completed, should they get preferred terms of insurance and loan? There's also a request that other brands start recognizing this program and endorse this program so that when a factory submits a certificate after this program, that it is recognized, and also a pathway for continuous improvement. And so for the participants, if you have time, please continue to share your feedback on the poll. Also, please share your questions via the chat box, and remember to fill in that form, the feedback form. But before we end, Gundolf, Rafe, Shohan, and Dr. Abbas, what happens next? What happens immediately after what we heard today, PI and e-REMC? We start with you, Dr. Abbas, in the role of a trainer. What next?
I would say that this should be rolled out to all the factories in Bangladesh. I mean, these 58 factories that we have used is in many cases are mostly on top of the factories in the factory food chain. But there are many factories in the middle tier and the bottom tier. They are using chemicals, but they do not have any policy, or they do not have, let's say, conscious or the budget to do it. So if we could roll out to those factories those are less aware of this sound management of chemicals and that associated benefit, that would be really a wonder.
Okay, and how about you, Rafe? What next for you?
I would say that there should be a more strategic approach to target the policies, government policies, strategic approach toward government policies, because of the fact that if I am efficient, if I am doing good, it won't, at the end of the day, it won't make an impact, because if my neighboring factory is still not efficient, still not working on that, then we have a shared environment. So I think that there should be a level playing field. You chose the correct word. So yeah, to get the right spirit out of this, then there should be more strategic approach towards the government policies. That should be next. That's my wish list.
Okay, got it. How about you, Shohan? What next for you?
I think we had meetings with Gundolf already about these programs and other things. So yeah, we are looking forward to it and other engagement also, in the future.
Okay, Gundolf, what are you planning to do?
Well, we are planned from our side focusing as well on the other topics and bring them together as an integrated approach. I know, of course, we had already such kind of measures taken up by several stakeholders always claimed as a cleaner production, things like that. But I think to point out really why it needs to be done, we have to focus as well on the economical benefits for the producer. We are all nice people. We want to save our environment and things like that. But at the end, producers are businessmen. And it's always at the end about prices. And what we have seen here under PI, huge achievements have been done without any big investments. Of course, really coming to the top and achieve 100% or 100 points under the HIG assessment, you also have to invest here and there a bit when it comes to energy, and the same as better you are, as more you have to invest. But everything like that, all investment has a return of investment, and this we have to make clear and to shorten this time for the return of investment.
Okay, got it. Listening to all of you and listening to what we've seen, certain reflection from me that perhaps all of us have to reflect on this difference between momentum and perfection and which side we are on. We talk about green finance linked to all the great work which is happening, and continue with collective wisdom of all the way GIZ had done. All of today's session worked out well, and that's thanks to colleague George. George, you mentioned that if nobody gets to know about you, that means everything worked out well. There was a small glitch on my side, but nevertheless, people should know about you helping us there. And also all of these sessions, thanks to Lisa, thanks to Emily, but also thanks to your questions and your interest. So thank you for registering. Thank you for taking time out from your session. We finished 2 minutes before our scheduled time. Thank you all. Take care and all the best. Until later. Bye-bye.